So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you my pros and cons. Okay. We're going to go over the mixer. Like I'm going to give you obviously there's videos out there that, tour the whole thing. I don't have one here, right? Rane's not sending me one anytime soon. So we're looking from afar, but I did a lot of research and I do have a good list of pros, good list of cons. I think it'll be interesting. We'll go through that and, see if we can come up with, some conclusions here. Okay. It's going to be a whole science experiment. It's going to be a grand old time. And let's get right into this. So we're going to start with the cons. No. We're going to start with the pros. We're going to start with the positives of the Rane 4. All the positives, okay? A lot of cool stuff here. Now, we're going to start with the back of a mixer, right? Look at the ass of this thing. First of all, it's got an IEC connector in it. Hell yeah, just like the Rane 1. That's one thing they get right. My God, why doesn't Pioneer do this? Why doesn't everybody do this? Put an IEC in every damn mixer ever, okay? Doesn't make sense to have your own. It's one of my biggest pet peeves with Pioneer. You have to get their AC adapter. I'm a wedding DJ. I like backup, okay? I want backup of everything. I can't back up a Pioneer AC adapter. How do you even get another one? Good luck. What do I got to find the parts? You know what I mean? I go to Pioneer parts department, get the parts number and shit. It's not like you could just buy it. Whereas an IEC, I got 1,500 in my bag, You can always back it up. Something I really wish Pioneer and everybody would do, but whatever. So we got an IEC here. Shouts to Rane for that. 2, not 1, but 2 combo XLR 1/4-inch combo jack mic inputs. Legit. Shouts to Rane for that. Very well done there. Okay. Not only that, but both mics have EQ, right? So you have individual, dedicated EQ, low, high, low, and obviously a volume meter and a dedicated on-off switch for both mic 1 and mic 2, which is very robust. So that's good. Very, very good. Mic 1 has echo. Mic 2 doesn't have echo. Side note, I wish in general they would start putting reverb on a mic. They always have echo on the mic. I feel like reverb would be more useful. If you've ever played with your voice with effects, reverb almost always sounds cooler and more you could do it lightly enough where it's almost wow, he just has a great voice. You can't tell it's enhanced where the echo. Hello. What are you going to do with that? You know what I mean? So but that's just a side note. No big deal. It also has split Q, as you could see on the side with the headphones. Now, split Q, if you're not familiar, it's a cool little feature. A lot of DJs use it where you take your headphones and the mixer will split the Q. So in one side of the headphone, you're going to have the master out, which is basically whatever's coming out of the speakers. And then the other side of the headphone, you're going to have whatever you have queued up, whatever song. And a lot of DJs like to mix like that. And I think it's good to have. And there it is right there. So shouts to Rane for that. And can we take a look at these feet? Look at these feet. Look at the cutest little feet on it. It's sitting 4 inches off the ground. Holy shit. You can use this thing in a flood. You can hide your homework under it or some shit, And how long, when you got a mixer with feet like this, right? How long until all these DJs start getting the custom Jordans for them, How long? It's a matter of time. DJs are going to be DJs, all right? They're going to match their custom Rane 4 shoes to whatever theme of the event is, right? But it makes it robust, I guess, with the feet. I'm assuming it's very sturdy feet, okay? Very, very sturdy. So they're going to be nice and, nice and on there. You don't have to worry about it shaking and everything when you're cutting. So I like to see it. Now, beyond this stuff, a lot of cool things that I liked looking into it too. First being the versatility is you can dial in a lot of settings. And like I said, I'm going to be using a lot of the digital DJ tips, Phil's B-roll here, so shouts to them. So in the center screen, you can dial in, this is the crossfader setting, so how much bleed the crossfader has, how sharp the cuts can be. You can also go into the microphone settings here. So he's going to switch it with that. So you have crossfader, wheel display. So now you have microphone. So if you go to microphone, you could do your talkover level, how high the talkover is. Talkover hole, which I think is how... Actually, I don't know what talkover hold is. I honestly don't. I thought I knew. I don't know. And then you can actually, with the mics, you can see like, you can say yes or no whether or not you want to run it through the booth out, whether you want to run it through your headphones or through the laptop, which is really interesting. You can adjust the wheel display, which is just basically all you can do with the wheel display is like the time and then the needle marker. Like you can take that off or whatever. Time remaining, all that stuff. And then what else can he do in here? He's about to do it now. Sure. Oh, and then there's also a factory reset in the center too, which tells me that, yeah, and the FX, which tells me that like when you customize this controller, I'm assuming, when you go through and you like customize, what effects you want on what buttons and stuff like that, it's going to save because you have a factory reset where you can, reset all your settings and everything like that, which I really hope that's the case, but we're going to get into all that later. But speaking about effects, look at this. We finally got onboard effects. Biggest problem with the Rane 1. A lot of people, what's the difference? Big difference, okay? And that's why they fixed it. So we got onboard effects, 22 of them in total. A couple of weird ones, right? But I mean, if you got 22 effects, you're going to have some weird ones. You got the echo, the classic echo, the recycler, which kind of just sounds like your computer crashed. The scale down. The scale down is essentially a duck down. So they may or may not have completely stolen that from Pioneer, but it's a very necessary effect, okay? And if Pioneer don't got the patent on it, then whatever. I would steal it too, so you can't blame them. Riser, which is like a reverse duck down. So like duck down, if you're not, or we should say scale down for this example. The scale down, basically, it pitches the song down and it echoes it out. So womp, 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 womp. A riser does the opposite. Womp, 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 womp. And it goes up, which is interesting. I don't know when I'd use it, but it's interesting. It's different, something. It's something, right? Matrix calls the aliens and then echo out, I guess, automatically echoes out. And then you can like assign them to all the different things. You can essentially, you have to hold one button down and then you twist the thing, the left hand's on to assign it, yada, yada, yada. 22 effects in all. Cool stuff. The OLED screens are very, very cool. One of those things that you didn't know you needed until you messed with it, and now you know you need it. It basically tells you what's on the pads, and especially now with stems and everything else, like it's so complicated. Like there's so many things you could do with those pads. You know what I mean? Like it is kind of useful to like literally have the little screens there. You can see what's on what pad. It'll even tell you your Serato cue. Like how you can rename a cue in Serato. So like I'll have a cue. Like give me an example, or like Wannabe by Spice Girls. How to start? Yo, tell you what you want, right? I'll have the cue at the yo. I'll rename that cue yo, right? Yo with like 18 O's. That way I know before I don't even have to listen to it. I don't have to cue it. I don't have to put my headphones on for this. I can just look and be like, all right, that's yo. That I'm gonna start yo, and I can cut it in, right? Well, when you rename a cue like that, that name will correspond on these little OLED screens, which is very cool. Right. And on top of like, when you split them up, because these pads now you could split them up, which is super cool. So you can do like the top 4 pads do just your cues, and then the bottom 4 pads can be your stems, and then this kind of like lets you know like what's on what. So I definitely think it's a great idea. We knew it was coming, right? Because of all the leaks. InMusic's so great at keeping secrets. We knew it was coming, but I think it's a great idea. And it's definitely something that's necessary. And it's definitely something you're going to see every other DJ or every other manufacturer copy. I'm sure the next other mixers that are coming out are going to have this as well. So they're going to set the tone with that. And it's just cool the way they work. You can see how like he splits them all up. Shouts to Phil again. But they're super quick. They just, I don't know. I like them. They're clear. They're big enough. You could see it pretty well, right? Very useful stuff. Then, as you can see to the right there, you have the individual acapella instrumental buttons, which they're literally dedicated. So you have those on each channel, on each side. So at any moment, blop, you can hit acapella, your song's an acapella. Blop, you can hit instrumental, your song's an instrumental. On the fly, okay? Very necessary buttons with the new stems feature. And it's going to be very useful. And again, something that's going to be on every DJ controller moving forward, I'm sure. So like Rane kind of, if you haven't noticed, Rane jumped at the opportunity, the whole stems thing. They literally made this thing around stems, and it's the first controller so far, first piece of hardware that has all this stuff integrated. and it's just going to make life so easy. You know, I want all this stuff so bad. Very, very cool stuff. I'd love to have these individual buttons. And then probably my favorite feature, definitely my favorite. This is the flagship. This was a great idea by Rane. Great idea by Rane. I can't stress it enough. Okay, what a good idea this was. And another thing that I'm sure everybody else is going to steal after this, right? But they did it first. You got to give them the what you call it, and that is stem split. I'm not a 4-channel controller guy. I'm a 2-channel guy. Okay, I'm simple. I can't think of more than 2 things at once. But this makes me want 4 channels. This, right? Like I have an SX2 where I've had 4-channel, 900 stuff. I've had 4-channel mixers, and I've never used 3 or 4. You know, like it's just they're there. I just like the controller or whatever. Like I've never really. This is such a great idea. Wow, what a great idea they had. So stem split. If you don't know, you basically push the button, and then what it does, it's like instant doubles, right? It takes whatever song you're playing on channel 1, and then it splits it between channel 1 and channel 3, and it splits the acapella and the instrumental up, right? But when you hit it, it automatically syncs. So the songs are synced, right? So basically, like when you bring the volumes up and everything, as long as both volumes are up, the song's going to play regular. If you try and cut it or do anything, manipulate the song in any way, the songs are synced, so they're going to stay together. But then below the stem split button there, you'll see the 2 green buttons. You can isolate the tracks, right? So you can isolate like an acapella or an instrumental. So then you can like actually split them apart and then just take the acapella and just cut the acapella over top the instrumental or vice versa. But then all you do is hit stem split again, and then they sync again, and then they're together again. Bam, bam, bam. And just having those on the up faders, it just opens up so much you could do. You can EQ the different sets. You could do effects on either one, cutting and all that. It's just so much fun rather than just hitting a button and then having to use the same platter. Now you have like on each channel, acapella, instrumental, in a button, in a flash like that. Like it opens up a world of possibilities. It's a fantastic use of a 4-channel controller. I'm very impressed. Very, very good idea. Okay. Very, 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 very good idea by Rane. And it really, like, an idea like that confuses the shit out of me with Rane, because like they have really good ideas like that built in, but then they also have the dumbest shit ever, okay? They have certain little things that they did with this controller that makes me think, like, do they even have DJs working for them? Do they ask any DJ's opinion, you know? Some things are so smart, and then other things are like, why? What? Like, you know? And that brings me to the cons, okay? So we're going to talk about the cons. And I don't want to be negative, but I'm going to be negative, because there's a couple cons here we need to know about, okay? First being, well, I mean, look at it. It's a non-motorized platter, and it's got the stupid dots. Why? I couldn't believe it. For the longest time, I thought maybe it's going to be this cool little hybrid. It can't be non-motorized, or it is motorized. It's a hybrid. Somehow it's a hybrid. Because why would they put those dots on it, okay? Those are called stroboscopic dots. The stroboscopic dots are put on turntables. When you pitch down or pitch up a turntable, it changes the speed of the rotation of the platter, right? And when it changes that speed, each dot corresponds with how much you put up the pitch fader or lower the pitch fader. So back in the day when they couldn't really tell how fast or slow they were speeding up the song, they would use those dots. When one dot became steady, they knew they were plus 7.5%. Or you know what I mean? That's why you use those dots. Now, you can also say like those dots are literally useless on the Rane 12 or the Rev 7 or any other like moving platter that like has a digital pitch. Whereas like if you go on a Rev 7 and you pitch a song down 8%, it's not going to slow the platter. It's going to like digitally pitch it down 8% on the laptop, right? Like on the computer. It's not going to slow the platter. So you could say, yeah, like the dots don't matter for those either. But like at least it's a moving platter, you know? And then like the dots can also like, you know, give you a little friction. So if you're slowing down the song or whatever, you know, with a moving platter, it kind of makes sense. There's no rhyme or reason why you would ever put those dots on a non-motorized platter, especially in a flagship super pro, super like this is supposed to be a cream of the crop controller, okay? This isn't no little bullshit American Audio, whatever, or like little like entry level trying to make it look cool, you know, kind of thing. Like here's a $500 controller, but you're gonna look cool with it. And like, no, this is flagship type stuff. This is supposed to be like the best controller Rane has ever came out with. The best. They also claim that these are the best and most responsive platters ever in a DJ controller. Best in class, right? So these are supposed to be number one non-moving platters. They're supposed to shit on every other non-moving platter on a controller, apparently. But you got those stupid stroboscopic dots that aren't necessary. Bothers me. Makes it look very gimmicky to me. Okay? Whatever. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but there's lots of other stuff too. Let's talk about the screen in the middle. Okay? The screen's kind of trash in my opinion. I'll tell you why. It's the same kind of screen. It's, again, I'm also basing a lot of this on, I'm assuming this is going to be $1,900, $2,000. Now, if Rane ends up coming out and it's like $1,600, then they're going to be able to get away with a lot of these cons, okay? But if they come out and it's $1,900, $2,000, they're screwed, in my opinion. They really cheaped out. These screens, they had an opportunity to make such a cool screen in the center, at least match the Rev 7 screens, right? Rev 7 screens are longer, and then you can change the wavelength on it. You can, like when I use Serato, I have the vertical wavelengths. You can do that on the Rev 7 screen. So you can just look down at the screen and use that to cut. This is the only thing it does. What you see right here on the screen is what it does. The only thing you can change is you can take away the marker, so that little white mark where it shows you like where the record's at. You could take that away if you don't want it. And then I think you can change like the time, like how the time sets up, like that, like the time and the BPM, like where all that is. Like you can like adjust that slightly, but that's it. The whole, like the wavelength, like the waveform, it just tells you where you're at in the song. That's all it does. There's no other option for it. Whereas the Rev 7, you could put album covers on that bitch. You could put your logo on it, or you can use it. You can have utility with it with like actual close-up waveform so you can see what you're cutting. Why wouldn't they do this on a flagship Rane controller? Why? Why? Especially if you're going to end up charging $1,900, $2,000. And this is one of the many reasons why I think that they took a step back and they're kind of like realizing what they did. And they're like, oh, we're not going to announce the price right now. We're kind of figuring it out. They're still doing market research on this, which is insane. Name the last time a company released a product, said, hey, we're coming out with this, but did so without a price. Without a price, which they're just still doing market research. They don't know what to charge for this thing because they know where they skimped out. You know what I mean? You gotta, if you're gonna charge a certain amount, you gotta be able to like crush other shit, you know? And this is just as good as the SRT 1000 screens. It's the same. There's nothing different about them. And the SRT 1000 came out years ago, you know? So big disappointment with that. And then another thing that cracked me up, the effects, right? They finally put the onboard effects. Where's the reverb? There's not a stock reverb on there. There's two main effects. I get it, 22 effects, and you got all these cool things, and you can get creative with some different new effects, and I'm all, that's cool, whatever, right? We all got the, the weird effects and all. But there's two main effects DJs use, okay? There's two. There's only two, all right? Beyond that, you can get creative, but there's two. Two staples. And the two staples are echo and reverb. Where is reverb? Where is it? I know, Nick, you could just assign it. You You just hold down the recycler button, right? Because you don't, I don't need the recycler. I don't want my, my mix to sound like my laptop crashed. So we're gonna take out recycle and we're gonna assign reverb. And then I think there's memory, so it'll stay there forever. So you just got to remember in the back of your head that recycler's reverb. But why not put reverb as one of the main things? One of the things that we're like, I'm surprised. Another aspect of this mixer where I'm surprised, like, do they talk to DJs? Like, you know what I mean? You know what's even more ironic is on their website. This is literally a screenshot off their website, right? If you go on their website and go to the Rane 4 or whatever, like Rane.com, literally has this, and it says, new internal FX suite with dynamic control options. The Rane 4 features a powerful, dedicated internal FX engine with 22 main effects, including tried and true classics like reverb and echo. They literally put reverb first. First! They put it first. Like tried and true classics like reverb and echo. They literally put on the website. But then right below there, this is literally a screenshot of the website. That's where I got the picture from, right? Right below there, you could see the effects and reverb's not even there. You have to reassign it. So on the website, in their marketing, they're going to call the effects like reverb and echo, like point out that they're tried and true and that's what every DJ uses. But then they're not going to include it in the stock effects. You have to actually assign that. Do DJs work on this? Do they take any DJ's advice? All right, if you're a DJ and you work for Rane, like, am I right? Am I wrong? Like, let me know in the comments. Do they ask anybody's opinion? Why would they ever not, like, it makes me think that there's just a bunch of nerds back in a room somewhere making these fucking things. They're not listening to any DJs whatsoever. They don't DJ in real life. Because why would you put recycler where reverb would be? Some nerd in the back room made that decision. Oh, I think recycler will be really cool. It'll sound like your song's skipping and you blue screened your Windows laptop. It'll be awesome. Who needs reverb? Like, you know what I mean? That's what that tells me. That's literally what that tells me. Another thing drives me nuts. Look at the screen. The little effect screen. Ain't it adorable? Why is it so small? I can't see what's on it. Maybe the screen's not that big, but like maybe the screen's like a decent size. Maybe it's just like they could fix it with like a hardware update. You know what I mean? Like because I think the way they compose the screen is a miss. See, when he moves his hand, see all the little text. I don't know about you. I have pretty good vision. I don't wear glasses, but like I have a hard time seeing that on the actual like TV screen. Maybe in person it's huge. I don't know. But like it's literally barely bigger than Phil's finger there. And like you could see like what the effect is, like kind of small in the middle, but that's the biggest text. And then on the side you can see the parameters and everything. You know, like it's like really small. It's hard to see. So I feel like they should have put a bigger screen there. You know what I mean? We're going to compare it with other mixers and stuff in a second. But like, I feel like they should have put a bigger screen there. It looks small to me. It just looks small to me. Tough to read. Especially because another thing, I kind of should have put it in the pros. Another thing you can do with this mixer, which is really cool, is you can dial in very specific things with each effect. Like it's not just like an echo and that's it. You can dial in very, very specific parameters. You can change it from like a minor to a major to like, there's all these little cool things you could do. So it's such a robust like internal effects system. Why wouldn't you put a big ass screen there so you can more easily navigate through all of it? Because otherwise the smaller screen makes it more complicated. It makes it more complicated to dial those things in, especially on the fly. Very, very big miss. Another thing that like, if you were a working DJ, why wouldn't you look at the prototype and be like, yo, that screen's way too small. I can barely see that. And like, you know, there's hella, like you got to admit, like controllers like this, there's a lot of middle-aged, you know, like, like midlife crisis DJs buying this bitch, you know, that they can't see. Don't you lose your vision after like 40, 45? Like I can see perfect. And I think that's too small. So imagine if like you have, you know, tough vision. Big miss, in my opinion. Big miss. And lastly, overall, it's still a little crooked. Not as much as the Rane one, but it's still a little crooked. And I get it. Each platter, right? You got the thing on the side, whatever. The SRT 1000 is the same kind of setup, same, like you could say it's a very comparable controller, but it's symmetrical, okay? They're just, it's still just a little bit to the left, and it's a little busy. I got to try it first, you know, before I say it's super, super busy, right? Because like, I don't know, it might be different in person, but it's tough because with a 4-channel mixer, you know, there's a lot going on and they put the paddle effects and everything in the center, which takes up a lot of space. Whereas like, you know, a regular 4-channel mixer, any of the 4-channel mixers I've ever used, like a 900 has a 900 setup. So all the effects are to the right, which like, I hate that effect setup. Don't get me wrong. But like that like makes it where all the rest of the channels are super like the same, you know, like very like repetitive. So it's easier to kind of navigate rather than like this is like there's a lot going on in the center. But that's a personal opinion. We got to, you know, once I try it, maybe I'll try it and see it in real life and be like, actually, this isn't too bad at all. I can easily navigate this thing, you know, but it's just like a first kind of thing.